describe the laws of international boundaries and frontiers. Initially, the boundaries were either hospitable regions or obstacles which were difficult to cross or otherwise defined. It was the farthest regions of influence of a people. Generally, it would be a river, a mountain, or a desert which served as well or separator. The intention was really to separate two nations. Nowadays, the concept of separation has changed radically. A boundary is not a paragraph on a treaty, nor a line on a map, but a complex and functional structure on the Earth's surface. First of all, two terms must be separated, which are usually used improperly as synonyms: frontiers and boundaries. So you can see in US Mexico 1952, 1989 and 1930. 1852, okay, and 1889, then 1930. So it is mainly, you can see in here. So US, Canada. So here Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Erie, Ontario. So boundary. So the term frontier is more generic and refers to region, while boundary is linked to more practice, linear and perfectly defined concept. To focus the objectiveness with which boundaries are implemented, the scholars divided the phases over which it is done into historical precedent, delimitation, demarcation, and characterization. In the historical precedent phase, the cultural characteristics of the people in the region and eventual previous attempts failed or annulled to establish Ireland, Britain, France. So Thalag as international boundary, you can see in here. Mediterranean Sea, France, Switzerland. Here you can see in Germany, Rhine River. Circle points you can see in here. Black Sea and others something. Adriatic Sea. Okay, so just study here. The demarcation try to interpret in the terrain the intentions of the delimiters. This is the technical phase which can offer some difficulties of interpretation in finding on the terrain the rivers, lakes, mountains, or other landmarks that have served as the base for the delimitation. During this phase, the demarcating or principal monuments or marks are built, which defines the lines of the boundaries of the country or territory. Finally, comes the characterization phase, which is strictly technical. During this phase, new marks are erected in order to satisfy the necessities of the population growth along the borders. This is done strictly in the spirit of the work of the demarcations. Demarcations and characterization are made by the joint commissions formed by technicians from both the adjacent countries. Owing a logical hierarchy, each subsequent phase cannot alter the decision of the preceding ones. Thus, the technical working in the improvement of the characterization of a boundary must take into consideration what was previously established by the demarcation. In the same way that the demarcation tried to keep to the spirit of the treaty established during delimitation, there are still nations facing all the different phases stated above. However, most of them have past delimitation and demarcation, and are currently facing characterization, which is a continuous process. Practically eternal, always subject to better definitions. The international laws on boundaries and frontiers also recognize the morphological classification. Physiographic boundaries are those that were drawn to follow some conspicuous feature of physical landscape. Mountain boundaries have been the most favored type since they have traditionally served as natural barriers and are considered highly stable. In many cases, rivers are selected as boundaries which provide advantages like they can be clearly marked on map. They are more narrowly defined features than the mountains and also provide a line of defense against the advancing army. Certain disadvantages are associated with it, like there can be an abrupt change in the course of river, or there can be problem of administration and crime control. According to the international law, the boundaries in lakes and straits are drawn at equal distance from the base of the respective countries. The ambit of the scope of law of international boundaries and frontiers also extend to the water bodies. The UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, also called as Law of the Sea Convention or Law of the Sea Treaty, is an international agreement that resulted from the Third UN Conference on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS 3, which took place from the 1973 through 1982. The Law of the Sea Convention defends the rights and responsibilities of nations in their use of world's ocean, establishing guidelines for businesses, the environment, and the management of marine natural resources. The convention introduced a number of provisions. The most significant issues covered were setting limits, navigation, archipelagic status and transit regimes, exclusive economic zones, and continental self-jurisdiction, deep-sea mining, and the exploration regime and protection of marine environment, scientific research, and settlement of disputes. The convention set the limit of various areas measured from carefully defined baselines, and normally a sea baseline follows the low water line, but when the coastline is deeply indented, has fringing islands, or is highly unstable, straight baselines may be used. So thank you.